Okay, we are live with another Sword Tubers live. Yay, we have all of our cast here today. Welcome everyone in chat. Again, if you guys have questions for any of the cast, by all means, let them loose in chat and I'll do my best to get around to it. First off, you guys probably know me, Jonathan by the Sword. You don't need my history. You've already seen it a billion times and probably want me to shut up and get to the more interesting people. But I am joined once again by Luke of Emblem Arms. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Awesome, awesome. I saw one of your latest videos on multiple endurals, and I want all of them.
Oh yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, and Dark Sword Armory has one too, so it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know Dark Sword Armory had one, but that's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, I think they actually have a couple different versions, so eventually I'll
Oh,
get them all, like Pokemon.
I gotta collect them all. I get it. I
Yep.
get it. I actually saw before we went live that our next guest, Mr. Armored Sweatpants, if you've not checked him out, this dude is amazing. But he was showing off the Knife of Aragon earlier.
Well, wasn't really the Knife of Aragon, but it was a wonderful gift that Mr. Donovan 2 sent to me. It is a fantasy-based blade. It has the elven writing on it, and so on
Yeah, it
and
looks
so.
like the one from the movie. That's why I was curious. The one that Celeborn gave to Aragon in the movie only, because in the books he didn't. But that's beside the
Right,
point.
right, totally.
They actually gave him a scabbard for his sword and Doral because he already had it by that point.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd, so that's how it goes.
Aren't we all?
I think
Yes,
we have 4 of us here that are, yes.
yeah, absolutely. And that other voice you heard, the one, the only nerdy metal dude. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing well. Thank you, thank you.
It's good to
Good
have
to
you
see
on, man.
y'all. Good to see y'all.
We've been interacting for quite a while now, and I love all the stuff. I was a bit worried at one point. I actually, because the YouTube algorithm kind of hid us from each other, because I thought he stopped posting. I'm like, what happened? Did he just disappear? Did he give up on swords? And then I found out. No, just
As
YouTube.
it's the holidays, something went wonky. I don't know what happened. I lost a bunch of people in my algorithm too. I was like, where'd he go? How come I'm not seeing this guy?
Yeah. So it's good to have you guys back tonight. We're gonna have, I believe it's gonna be a really fun show, and it always is a fun show when I have other sword tubers here, and to talk about one of our shared hobbies, which is of course swords. Tonight though is unique because Armor Sweatpants is pretty amazing himself. If you've not checked out his things, you're in a metal band, right?
I am indeed.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start off with having you introduce yourself about like stuff you do and what got you into swords, and then of course tell us about your band and stuff. I've watched a couple of your videos that you've done during your band practices.
Oh, nice, great. That's awesome. Uh, my channel started out initially as a music channel, but I had about 12 subscribers for about 2 years, and nobody really paid attention until basically took a sword and started cutting the crap out of crap. Then people like started filing in, and I started meeting people from the community, and yeah, it was great. It was awesome. Got to know a lot of
Nice.
people. Uh,
Yeah.
as
Now
far
I
as
know
video,
we were. Oh, sorry about that. But I was just saying, or even before this, I'll let you continue on there. We talked about this even before that. We felt more at home with the sword tuber community than like everywhere else. It's just, everyone has been always so welcoming. So that's
oh,
always
it's just
nice.
wonderful. I never felt like I belonged anywhere before in my life. Really, it's a wonderful community. Lots of wonderful people, very talented people, very skilled. Uh, yeah, there's some old schoolers around that aren't really posting anymore that really made me feel welcome. Katana Carl, Chattanooga Chop. I believe Chattanooga Chop was probably my first friend in the community, and what a wonderful individual he is. We say he's got a heart of gold and the skills of an assassin. I've seen this guy cut aspirin. He's amazing.
That is impressive. I feel like I'm subscribed to him.
He has one short where he's got a head with a helmet, okay, on it, with a partial noodle sitting on a mailbox, and he drives by it at about 35 miles per hour and cuts it out the window. It's really something. This guy was very creative and innovative with what he did. At Thanksgiving, he would tie a turkey up to a tree and just like cut right through it with a Japanese broadsword, or I mean a Chinese broadsword. It was really something to see. He's really amazing, very inspirational as a cutter.
Okay, I just need to open up a notes tab real quick. Just things for me to try out at some point.
I don't even think I could see it anymore with losing partial vision in my eye. I don't think I'd be able to even see an aspirin to hit it.
Well, he does it in slow-mo and zooms in on it. He practiced by cutting grapes and cherry tomatoes and things like that.
Wow. I see people in chat saying that they miss Katana Carl. He's still around. In fact, he was actually gonna come on one of these shows. It's just we haven't been able to line up time where we can be together. But he'll be on one of these in the future.
He's still around. He just really hasn't posted anything in about 2 or 3 years. You know, he's still into the swords and still does what he does. But, you know, I talk to him here and there, and he's an absolutely wonderful individual, an awesome person. You know, I'm blessed to know him, really. He gave me this. It is the Fei Long Iowa T10 differentially tempered. It's beautiful. It's a Shobuzakuri.
Oh,
very nice. This thing is amazing. It takes an edge like nothing, and it just sails through whatever unfortunate object I'm swinging at the time.
I feel like he's told us he provided that one to you, and it was interesting because when he's talking about it, it's almost like he misses the sword, like, you know.
Oh,
like
yeah, he also sent one to Eric, and you know, Eric and I chat about it. You know, isn't this just a wonderful sword? You know, it is. I'm very impressed with it. And Carl is, I can't say enough about him as a person. He's an absolutely wonderful man to know.
Yeah. Now I'm very excited to get Katana Carl on here too, because like you said, if you don't post that often, YouTube really hides you, and there's a wealth of great stuff that he's done in the past. If you go through his older catalog, just look through what stuff he's done.
He's very traditional. He cuts in his hamaka and the whole shebang. He was obviously traditionally trained, and he's been obviously doing it for a very long time. He's remarkably skilled. Log on to his channel, watch some of his tatami cutting videos, or he goes through the all the rituals. You know, sits in seiza and puts the blade in his belt, and you know, I was involved in a dojo for a while, and everything was a ritual. You know, you walked in the door, you bowed to the mat. You know, you put your bokken on the rack, you bowed to the bokken, and we have a ritual for just about everything.
I would say a lot of Japanese martial arts in general, because of the idea of keeping the tradition alive, they do a lot of those ritualistic things in everything that they do, especially in the martial arts field.
There was something I never understood, and that was we got on our hands and literally fell on our faces before our swords, And I asked my sensei why we had to do that. And he says, because the sword holds a higher rank than you. And I'm like, isn't that completely contradictory to Conan's riddle of steel? For what is steel compared to the hand that wields it? And I always saw the sword as a tool of human will. If you tell it to do something stupid, it'll do something stupid. If you tell it to do what you want, it'll do what you want. I mean, you're in the driver's seat. It does what you tell it to do.
I see
And
Gargoyle the Blade, who's our mutual friend of pretty much all of us in here, says that Carl has a great video on how to put on an obi belt correctly.
yes,
Which
I need to watch that. Okay.
I got yelled when I took judo. I got yelled at constantly because I'm just, I nodded, however, and they just look at me like, "No, you didn't do it right."
well, let me tell you something. The first time I had to put on that uniform, the hamaka, it took me 45 minutes. All right. But after a while of going to the dojo, I had that sucker down in 4.5.
Nice.
It's a jigsaw puzzle. Those pants are really something. I'm sure Alex can identify.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure. I always like those outfits, to be honest. So I see Samurai Bird's in chat. So Samurai Bird's also another fantastic traditionalist, I guess I would
Mr.
say.
Bird, I tip my hat to you, the purveyor of the modern monkey style of sword.
Nice. Anything else you want to tell us about history, or anything in particular about us, like maybe a favorite sword or something like that?
Well, what first drew me, I've been around swords pretty much all my life. Like you say, I play in a metal band, and I had a pretty cool band in the '80s. All right, and it was metal and classically influenced, and we had a lot of sword and sorcery themes to it. And there was this guy, I'll just call him Bubba because that's what we called him. And he was a big guy, built like a silverback gorilla, and he had a katana, not a real one. He had something like this. All right, and what this is a 440 stainless steel. I guess Mr. Matt Jensen would call it a sword type object,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a fake katana, stainless steel blade. If you try to put a edge on it, it'll just crumble off.
Yeah.
But I keep it and I use it as like an Iato to practice. Because I'll do a move like 50 times with this before I'll try it with a real blade. And the reason I do that is because it looks, weighs, and feels like using an actual katana. So when I eventually move to something like this, it's I'm no stranger to the feel.
Right. I think
But
that's important for practice, because if you don't have an analog that makes sense, Boken don't feel the same. They don't move the same.
no, they're not even the same length usually. They're more like a Nodachi length. The like what Tone Deaf cuts with.
Yeah.
But this guy used to show up for our practices, and while we would play music, he would do sword choreography to our music. And I think he was more of a HEMA guy, because a lot of his moves were very Conan. It wasn't a Japanese style at all, but he was doing it with a katana, a sword-like object. But I was always fascinated with it. And then a big influence for a lot of us katana guys was Kill Bill.
Mm.
If you've ever seen that movie, okay, that
Yep.
just made katanas cool as hell. You had the character Hattori Hanzo, who was the greatest sword maker in the world. You don't compare Hanzo swords. You compare Hanzo swords to every other sword in the world that isn't a Hanzo sword. And everybody in the movie had their own little Hanzo sword. it's an over the top Quentin Tarantino, but a lot of it definitely promoted the romance of the katana, and yeah, I was very much into it, and yeah,
I think
that
most of us
really.
were. A lot of us, even who grew up in the '80s, we talked about this. I think even previous. I think we're poor. Poor Luke is over here going, I don't know
Yeah,
what you're
I'm an
talking
old
about.
guy. I was I
I know
graduated
what
in
Kill Bill
'82,
is.
so
Well, Kill Bill came out earlier, but I think I said in one of the earlier ones the show that got me when I was a kid. It was a corny little show for kids, not kids, but younger. Three Ninjas. Have you ever seen that? You probably never have.
I
But
don't think I have. It doesn't sound familiar.
no, it was like one of those family friendly type, because when you're younger, you're like they didn't like, but it was just these three kids who took karate and all that, and they would carry their swords and they were training to be ninjas, and I remember that show. They wore different color masks. The chubby fat one was called Tum Tum, the youngest one. I don't know, that was his ninja name. It was really funny to me,
There's
but
I think
Very
there's a
cool.
full movie on YouTube that you can watch if you're interested.
Oh,
it would
nice.
ruin the entire thing for you. It was so corny. But again, think about it as like a 5 or 6 year old. That was the coolest thing in the world. Okay,
Right.
so yeah, absolutely coolest thing in the world. And growing up on like even cartoons like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was big for me. I love that.
Right.
Uh, and then as you got older, anime started coming in, so that really created this mythology around
Oh,
katanas, and
totally.
I
But
think that's what a lot of people get into.
my daughter got involved in a dojo, and she was like, Daddy, you gotta check this out. This is right up your alley. You gotta come out. So I ended up applying, and I was accepted, and my journey down sworddom started. So I was traditionally trained to a point, but my when my time at the dojo ended, I had this skill that I had no idea what to do with, and I was on YouTube and I saw Eric Hussein cutting video, and I was like, maybe I should try this, and like I said, I had a music channel where I'd show like segments of my shows, and nobody cared. But then I started cutting, and all of a sudden, people started filing in, and hey, now I'm over 1,000 subs. Never thought it would happen, but hey, all right,
See
you
that
know.
you need to be like the guy who came to your show. You just got to incorporate swords into your show, and you'll get even bigger. That's how it's
Well,
going to
what I
work.
did was I incorporated the music into my sword videos. If you
Yeah,
um, check out one of my older videos, not only will you see my daughter cutting, she's very skilled. She has this natural born uncanny edge alignment that's just incredible. I had to work at mine, but she just saw it and understood. Um, and I used my band's music as like the soundtrack for the videos, and people would watch the sword videos, and they, hey, whose music is that? Where did you get that music? And I'm like, oh, that's my band.
yeah.
That, and people started requesting music. And well, I started with music and nobody cared, and as soon as I started cutting the crap out of crap, people started to care. So I started posting segments from gigs, shows I've played. If you scroll down in the videos, you'll see a bunch of those.
hmm
You know, uh, some studio recordings I've done, and some practice videos with the band, and yeah, it worked.
It works absolutely. I often joke with my lady. She's like, "Well, aren't you worried that like with when you're doing sword stuff that like all these people come to you. I'm like, oh, my swords bring all the boys to the yard. That's how it goes. Like, yeah, absolutely. You don't have to worry about me. It's just a bunch of other guys like me who like swords. That's how it goes. So, um, awesome, awesome. By all means, Luke, if you have questions that you want to ask the guys, you can jump in here too. So, yeah, that'd be cool.
I was just listening. I didn't think of it. I
Yeah,
have no
I
thoughts
get
at
it.
this point, but I'll
No
try to think of
thoughts.
some at some point.
He's like the Windows 95 buffering the circles.
Yes.
All
So,
right,
just
next
as
up.
a question, I
Yeah.
can't really see, who's in the feed at all. Who all is locked in?
We got quite a few people on, actually.
Oh,
People who are talking now. David, he goes by Mr. Heavenly Sword, I think, on Instagram. Awesome dude. Tempest
Awesome.
Blade Argus is in there. Gargoyle Blade,
Tempest.
Samurai Bird.
Hey, Mr. Bird.
I saw in there that Andy from Electric Swords was in there earlier too. So yeah, there's quite a few people actually in there right now watching. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
And they're
nice.
chatting. I'm trying to keep an eye on chat, so if they ever ask questions or have something directed towards any individual person, if you guys don't see it, I'll try to pick it up. So I'm looking at
Sure.
it too. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Next up, Ward, Mr. Nerdy Metal Dude. Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel, what got you into swords? Anything fun you want to tell us?
I had been on YouTube for several years and never really posted anything. What really kind of started me on YouTube was I was watching a lot of DIY videos. And I had an angle grinder, and I was like, I saw this guy who built a table that you could make with some dresser drawer runners, and you could turn it into like a sliding chop saw, and clamp it down to your bench. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I'll make one of those. So I made that, and I was like, what could I do with it? And I got these old swords here, and this needs a handle on it. The grip is just... So I started doing that, and I was like, should I put this video up? I did, and this guy, I believe, the first guy who contacted me about that would have been, I think it was Sinister Swordsman. And he was like, you got more swords, have you ever cut with them before? I was like, no. He goes, well, here, look at this. He sent me a link to a video or something. And I went and looked, and it was one of him outside cutting. I was like, I had no idea people were doing this on here. And I've been floating around YouTube for several years, never come across it, because doing a lot of movie stuff and, the DIY things and stuff. I was just watching a lot of that, movie reactions and things.
Yeah.
And before you know it, I just started swinging this old beat up windlass or sword of Albrecht II. It had a little rat tail.
Yeah. It has the thick wheel pummel with the
straight bar, cross guard, and big wide blade and stuff like that. And
I think that's often, if you go to like the Sword Buyer's Guide or My Armory or something like that, they often depict that one as a classical type 18A example for the Oakshot typology. I think that's the one they use.
Conway made a version of it at one time too, I believe. And it looked a little bit different than the one that Windlass was putting out. But then I started cutting with that, and then it just kind of, I don't know, it was like, this is what I've been wanting to do for so many years. Why it never struck me to even try something like that. I was like, okay. And then, boom, it was just, but yeah, that's how it started on YouTube. But yeah, I've been into swords since I was a little kid, especially Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons, things like that. But it went back even earlier, because in grade school, I used to watch I remember a little Hercules cartoon that used to come on when I was real small, probably 6, 7 years old, just going into elementary school. The Hercules. I can still remember the theme song in my head. I won't sing it for you because that would be awful. But I remember watching that, and I was so impressed with Hercules with his sword and his bow and arrow and stuff. And little kid, my mom used to get so pissed at me because I'd go in and take coat hangers off the off the curtain rod and go, I'm pulling back my bow. I'm Hercules. She's like, all my hangers are bent. She got mad at me about that. Back then, coat hangers were a big thing.
No, yeah. I think I've done similar things pretending they were a bow and then they became a diamond and then I got spanked. But yeah.
But, and then, basically, I think it really kicked in really hard when I first read The Hobbit when I was about 12.
Mm.
And I imagined Smaug's pile of treasure with all the swords sticking out of the piles of gold and stuff. And the gold, I didn't even think about all the gold laying around. I was like, I'd just be wanting to look at those swords. And I just got sucked in after that. It's Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons, starting out with the little box set. And I even found a set of rule books that TSR had put out. I was in Chicago at the time. You had Lake Geneva right up the road, basically. And TSR put out these little, it was 8.5 by 11 paper, folded in half, stapled in the middle with a heavy, cardstock cover on it. And I had that, and then I had the original box set, and then AD&D first edition. And it was off to the races after that with swords and stuff like that. And I started collecting them, but I never even imagined cutting with them until I got on here, and then Armored Sweatpants, he was in there very early when I first started. And I was probably him and Samurai Bird, him and it'd be Sinister Swordsman were the first three guys, and they just welcomed me in and said, "Come on, learn." It's like learn some stuff and out there and cut. There's a whole community of us out here, and it, like Armored Sweatpants said, it was just so welcoming and stuff. And I was just blown away. I was like, wow, nobody's calling me a dork or a nerd or a weirdo or anything. It's just we're all talking about the same cool stuff, and there's a lot of stuff in common. We have it right here, the fantasy heads and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we could even go into Robert E. Howard and, reading all the Conan books. My cousin was an artist who did a lot of he used to do Frazetta copies and stuff like that, from all the Conan paperbacks. We'd run down to the department store and look for the latest paperback. And then the Elric series and all these fantasy books and stuff. And it was like, oh, Stormbringer. Oh,
Yeah.
It just pulled me in, and now I can't get enough of it. In fact, I buy too many swords. I think Kingfisher is another really early one.
KF1 Kingfisher was, I think, the first person who actually, commented on my videos and was one of the first ones to be like, dude, you're doing awesome. Keep, he was one of the first people to find me and actually, comment.
And in fact, the little balancing the bottles and then trying to kerplunk the top one when you do a double, that was his challenge, and I took that on, and it seemed to stuck with me, and that's like, I don't know, all I want to do sometimes.
I have a few shorts from him too that are his challenges. Never did them. I keep failing, but I keep trying.
And then once I hit the first one, I said, this is it. Now, I mean, I'm improving. I'm actually doing something and improving at it. Because, I don't know, Armored Sweatpants, I think you and I had talked about Ray Rayner at one time.
Yep.
There's an old TV show
No,
for kids.
no mention Garfield Goose, though.
Oh, yeah, Garfield Goose.
Right. Fraser Thomas.
Fraser Thomas, yes, indeed.
Right.
But Ray Rayner, he just had a thing. They'd play Looney Tunes cartoons, give you the weather in the morning, show, other things. But he would always do these little arts and crafts things, But one of his producers or something, Chauncey, would make these things first. And Ray would always try to duplicate it, and they always came out just looking terrible compared to Chauncey's version. And when I first put the handles on my swords, this is one Sweats. I can't get used to calling you that. I want to say Mr. Wizard, but
Mr. Wizard, we can go on that.
That works.
I was gonna say, there's people in chat already saying they'll never miss a Wizard stream, and they keep mentioning the pipes. So
I got quite a collection. By the way, I played Dungeons and Dragons for 15 years of my life. My older brother is a Gen Con certified dungeon master. You know, it was a big part of my life for a very long time.
Some of the guys I went to high school with, two of the brothers, they ended up working in the gaming industry for a while. I
Oh,
do
wow.
recall that they were big into gaming, the RPGs and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, but then I always wanted to call myself. I after I did the handles on those swords, I was like, I'm the Ray Rayner of sword handles because they just come out terrible. And I'm like, hey, but it works. You know, it's holding together. It's all solid. So I'm going to
Nice.
work on it. I'm going to improve them and try to add a little flair to them and a little artistry and stuff. I just wanted to crank them out and see if I could get them to work and see how the swords cut. Now I've got plenty of fun toys to play with. I can work on those and take my time with them and everything. My main goal in putting them together was just to get out there and swing them around and see what they did. But yeah, and then, as far as the channel goes, it's just the little movie clips. I've been fascinated with movies, film, reading. I mean, it's just all the arts basically, because I got this stuff spinning around in my head and I can process artistic things really well, but I can't make my body do them.
I love your movie clips, by the way. Last
Thank you.
Samurai Standing. That was a great show.
Oh yeah, awesome show.
Me and Nerdy are still waiting for season 2.
Oh yes, Bukotsu. Oh.
well, we were talking pre-stream about Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom and the Netflix adaptation of that. Nerdy needs to get on board with that one.
I'm on it. I'm definitely on that one. Uh-huh.
You just got to make it through that first episode. It's so slow, but after that, you
I couldn't
forget what day
bring
it is.
myself to episode 2. I just like, all right, nothing's happening. I think I did that with Nightfall as well. I got
Nightfall was I've
one
seen
or two of them,
Nightfall.
and I was like, yeah, that's it. No more of this.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that one worked out in the end either.
Not great.
Okay.
I'll tell you that one right now. I watched both seasons, and I was like,
Well, it beats sitting there waiting 2 years for another season of House of Dragon.
well, yeah. I think we'll all be dead in the ground before we get the Winds of Winter book, so we might as well wait. I don't think that's ever happening. I don't think it's ever happening at this point. So, yeah. So, Luke, you were at Ren Fair today, right?
I was, yes. I got 9,600 steps in, I'll have you know.
Oh, well, I think I have 37 steps in, thank you. I don't think I moved much.
Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, I always enjoy that type of stuff. We got to see some of the birds of prey. Those are really fun. I wish that I had the ability to like train birds and do stuff like that. And they're able to do some really cool things, and some of them are really smart. Like some of these vultures, they have the intelligence of like a 3-year-old. Like they understand you a little bit, and yeah, it's a good time. I was almost dive bombed by a bird too. I have it on camera. I haven't checked the video yet, but there was like a tailwind, so he was supposed to land earlier, and then he like almost hit me in the face. So there's just like this video of me like, oh! So we'll see. I haven't looked at that video yet, but that was pretty good. And then there's a guy who does stuff with fire whips. That's pretty cool. There's a bunch of different sword shops. There's they had some jousting, which was pretty fun. So yeah, it's just it's a good time. It's a good time.
I like those. Now, I got a question for you. So
Yeah.
I go to Ren Fairs up here a lot too. I like them. They're fun. I went to one in Maryland, which I actually liked really, really well. Like it was beautiful ground, but they don't let you carry swords at that one. And
They did not let you carry swords at that one?
No.
Huh.
That's why I was curious if you were carrying any of yours, because you should have. But then I'm like, there are some Ren Fairs, they get weird about it, where they've recently said, like, no weapons at all. Like, one of the dumbest things at the Maryland one is you're not even allowed to have, like a quiver with arrows in it. So if you had a quiver as part of your costume, I saw some guy walking around with one where he just put flowers in it. I'm like,
Interesting.
So you could only wear like LARPing gear and stuff like that.
the one in Maryland doesn't let you even do that. Like,
Really?
unless you bought it in there, you can't bring anything in.
Interesting.
Um,
What they do
Where's
is
the
they
fun
have
in that?
red zip ties, and
yeah,
they will put zip ties on it, but the zip ties don't actually stop you from using any of this stuff. It's more symbolic, and apparently there's some sort of historical precedence to it too, as they were mentioning that in certain places you would tie like a red ribbon or something around it as you were going to signify that you weren't going to draw or use your weapon. And so the zip ties don't actually prevent you from. This is something that they had mentioned. So if it's completely wrong, blame the greeter lady when I asked why on earth are we zip tying these if the zip ties don't do anything. And like this was the explanation she gave. But yeah, so apparently it came from some historical context somewhere in the world at some point where people would put ribbons or string or something to show that they had no intention of using the weapons. So I don't know if somebody can fact check that. That'd be interesting.
I've never heard that either, but I wouldn't be surprised. I know they try to zip tie. I love going to mine because obviously I bring real swords. Like I'm not, and every time I go, it's really funny because they have a separate line. If well, I think they did away with it this year, but they have a separate line for weapons because you have to go an officer like zip ties it, and it's really funny. But I get to skip the line. There's hundreds of people in line. I just walk by, and it's really great. And the guys are always looking at my swords like, are these real? I'm like, yeah, they're real. I use them for cutting all the time. And they're up there going, all right, so I'm not supposed to do this, but they'll pull it out and they'll look at it and they're like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, yeah. And then they tried to zip tie it down. But yeah, it was just funny to me. I was curious if yours actually allowed you to carry swords with you because some
Yeah,
do, some
they
don't.
let you carry whatever you want, and they
Okay,
don't
that's
even
awesome.
zip tie it well enough for you to not use it. So at some point, there probably will be a crazy brawl. I mean, there's lots of people are drunk there. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
a
true.
requirement for some of the stuff that you do. Like there
Yeah.
was one store where they're like, all right, here we do drunken puzzle solving. So you need to be drunk first before we start the puzzles. That was one of the stalls. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, but the swords there are really cool. As I was kind of saying earlier, I wonder if I should do a video because I did take some quick videos going over some of the different swords. And I wonder if it's worth talking about like the value proposition, if it's worth it to buy swords at the Ren Fair. And I will tell you, I've been to the Ren Fair a lot, and I've bought 0 swords there. So for me, I just at this point I haven't seen a compelling sword offer at a Ren Fair. I feel like you can just get better swords and cheaper somewhere else, but they're
Mhm.
still fun and cool to look at. And some of the stalls will let you pick them up and handle them, and some of them are sharp, some of them aren't sharp. So I still always enjoy it, but I just haven't found one that I feel like is good enough to buy.
I agree with you, especially since like we do a lot of review stuff now, and they're getting better and better. Though
Yeah.
I do have an idea for a video I want to get with you and a few other people in the future to talk about some of these issues that I've started seeing popping up. I'm not gonna do it on this show because uh, I just had the idea just a little while ago, and I think I need to think it out a bit. But I think we're entering a time period, especially with Euros. The Katana Bros have had this for a while, where there's just a plethora of companies coming up, offering very affordable and decently put together swords. They're now, um, obviously, they're not up to par with things like Albion and Valiant Armory and Stephen Lockwood, but they're also a fifth of the price. Um, but they handle well enough that they do feel like a real sword, if not perfectly balanced. They're very, very good. Uh, but I fear the collapse,
Hmm.
and partly, and this is I'll give a spoiler, something I want to think about. You'll notice, like in this sword right here, this was something I worked with Swordier. I helped them design the blade. The fittings, however, are used by several different companies in China. Like they almost make them like computer parts, OEM parts. I've seen this same pummel. I'm sure you guys have too. It's a this fluted German style pummel, and I started seeing it on a bunch of other stuff too. And I'm curious about when the fail happens, when the fall happens, because you have all these companies and they're producing roughly equal quality goods, and they're getting to be more and more homogenized and looking alike because they all use the same parts. So what will happen? That one looks a little different. It's nicer, but it looks a little different.
Kind of sharp though. Hurts your hands. Hurts your left hand when you're swinging it.
Ooh.
What is that? Which sword is that?
It's a cold steel German longsword.
Oh, that's the longsword? Oh, okay. From the camera, I thought it looked curved for a second.
Yeah, I thought it did too, but it's the angle of the camera.
On my camera. Yeah. No, it's a long.
I think Matthew Jensen just did a review of that just a few days ago. An exact one.
This one for a while. Yeah.
Well, see, now Cold Steel, I think they outsource their stuff too, but I don't think it's China. I think it's India where they get their stuff. But the thing I want to talk about in the future is people moved around, people shifted, because I think Luke just died, unfortunately. The issue that we have is there you go, you're back. What
Sorry,
happens?
I probably just derailed your whole train of thought.
You did, because then it messed up all my camera setup, and Nerdy was over at your spot, you were over at his, and I was like,
oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, I have it all organized.
I disappeared and reappeared. Who's the wizard now?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'll be right back. I got to use the little wizard's room.
Okay, go for it. But what I was saying earlier is you have all these companies coming up and they're using all the same parts. So none of the companies are standing out anymore. So what happens when these companies, so say you have a favorite. Obviously, I have a current favorite Chinese producer, and that's Swordtubers. I have a good relationship with Alex. Yeah, you have a great one there too. But what happens when these Chinese companies, because they are using all the same parts and are roughly producing all the swords that are even look the same, you start buying and then there's not enough.
So can I bring up something? So so I currently have the from Romance of Men, the Aquila. And so I did an unboxing with it. I've done some cutting with it. And then I saw another YouTuber, BC Weapons International. He buys like a bunch of different swords, and he bought like 6 different ones from Amazon, and he showed one that looks it is basically identical to did you see this, to the Aquila? And he got it for $130. It's from a different company. And so you could get the Aquila from the Romance of Men for $250, or you could get it from Amazon. And I asked him, I was like, hey, can you weigh that? And like the weight seems the same. Someone else was in the comments talking about it, how they happen to have both, and they're both basically the same, except Romance of Men sharpened theirs up a little bit better. And so it's like, so I have everything I need to do the final review on that one, but I'm still thinking about how I want to do that review. But I think eventually what I have to say is like, no, I can't recommend this sword if there's basically another copy of it that you can get for $120 cheaper. And so it's like, what do you do at that point? And I think what Romance of Men has to do is they have to, and that also is like, okay, did somebody just happen to get all the same fittings and is selling the exact same sword, or did somebody see that idea and then go copy it? Or I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, but I think the only way that Romance of Men can continue to have that product be viable for them to sell is to change up some of the fittings. Which I think that wheel pommel actually is the weakest of all of their pommels for all of their swords. So I think they should change that to like a scent stopper pommel or something like that. But I think that's the only way that sword continues to exist. Well, from them on their site.
No, and that's true. And therein lies the issue that I want to bring up, because even all these parts being the same, I'm sort of getting the argument that Peter Johnson was making the other day about, when people copy your parts and stuff like that. Because I'm seeing it even within the Chinese sword community, solely because, like you said, these parts, and what really brought this idea was actually, I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, I was watching John of RVA Katana do his unboxings, when he does the live streams in the store. I like to jump in and talk. And he had 2 long swords, and one of them he brought out had those fittings, hold on, I'm going to grab it, that I thought were very bespoke to Swordtubers, but they're not. it looked pretty much exactly like this. Same eternal cross guard, same same everything, same fishtail. And I asked him, like, oh, is that a sword here? He goes, oh no, this is from Phoenix Armory or something like that. You know, it's the same. And I'm like, so there's some OEM sword producer over there who are making these parts and they're buying them. And now there's nothing that's really unique to Swordier because other people are now getting the same parts. So, like, and obviously,
yeah, good point you brought up. Yeah, I like that.
What happens when you have so many different companies out there and they sell them for here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know about you guys, but especially if I'm using a sword that I like to know I can get another one in case something happens to it. But what happens if Swordier goes out of business? Because now they don't have quite the market share because they have nothing unique, and you can literally get this exact same sword from Phoenix Armory, and you know these people are going to disappear because they're essentially just making the exact same sword. Like you said about Romance of Men, you get $120 cheaper from another Chinese company who bought all the same OEM parts and put it together. You know what makes these things unique?
I always used to joke that Swords of Northshire, Hanban, J. Kusino swords were 3 great ways to get the exact same sword.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just, you know, especially with some of the Euro market, I'm starting to worry for them because now there's nothing. Like, I'm surprised none of these companies have started, even if they have 90% of their catalog, these, you know, stock model pieces, and we see that in the Japanese sword community all the time. You see the same Suba everywhere. Like, it happens. But, you know, I'm just
a
curious.
lot of people in the Japanese sword community, they're not really into the ornate look. A lot of them like the cast iron fittings, understated look. They're more concerned about the blades themselves than the actual furniture.
And katana are easier to take apart too. So if you could buy something with the ugliest fittings in the world, knock the Makugi pin out, pull the blade out, and put it on whatever you want. Like,
exactly.
Anyone can do that with a ball peen hammer and a screwdriver. European swords, if they're not screwed in, they're peened. Most people can't undo a peen. You have to break the peen to get this off, and then you have to re-peen it, meaning that you then have to. Oh, to get this one off, if you wanted to get this peen off, you would have to grind this off so you could slide everything off, change the fittings, and then have the ability to either weld on an additional piece. So if you shorten, unless you're going with a smaller grip, and then be able to heat the peen and then re-peen it yourself. Most people don't have the ability to do that.
No.
Right.
Which is actually, I was recording today. I have all the footage where I was recording for. I just have swords laying over here like crazy. This bad boy, the Cloud Hammer, SX105V, and I can tell you right now, it's not going to get a real high score because after only a single tatami mat and maybe 20 bottles, it's loose.
Oh,
can you see it move?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
That thing drives me crazy.
One tatami mat and didn't even make it through it because it seemed to have lost its edge. But most people aren't going to be able to fix that. Like, for me to fix that, I'd have to heat the peen up, hammer it back down to tighten the setting. But the other issue with this sword is because it uses 3D printed handles, I don't even know if I could do that because I'd probably break the plastic handle trying to re-peen it. You know what I mean?
If our Subas come loose, you know, all we got to do is knock out the pins, throw a little shim in there, put it back together, and it's nice and tight again. You know.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe you could try that. You could try to throw like a small piece of like wood or cloth down the guard before, and just see what happens.
I've shimmed a couple of guards before. It's pretty easy. It works nice with my Anway Rhinelander and that German longsword. I've done that to.
I was gonna say the cold steel one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say because for a while I was buying Cold Steel products on the regular, and that seemed to be something that everyone was saying is like, oh, and here's how you fix your
Rattle.
shaky handles when it happens.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
gotta be like jacks of all trades, because if something goes south with your katana, there's no Ken's Katana Mart down the road you can take it to. You got to do it yourself.
See, and the
So
odd part is I've never had a crossguard go loose on a longsword unless it's one of these weird cheapo ones. Like I think I had one with a Honshu brand, which I would never recommend people buy anyway. But um, I've hit so much stuff with my swordier ones, hard, soft targets. I mean, this guy,
Oh, yeah.
this one right here, my first one I did a review. This thing has cut hundreds of bottles. Tommy mat, smashed into the wood stand multiple times. Everything is as hard and fit in here as the day I got it. Nothing is loose. This one's
nice.
very well put together.
Oh,
Like I said, there's chips off my stand from me slamming into it
there is
because
a
I missed a
solution
target.
for these manufacturers on that part with the rattling guards. All they have to do is, you've got the slot in the guard that slides over the blade. They make that, you can make it tapered and use a press fit. They can press it on with a mandrel. That's what Galar did with that German longsword. Those are press fitted guards on there, so there's no room for even a shim on it. Back when I used to work in a machine shop, if you've got your tolerances really good and you press fit something, it's almost impossible to get it apart. If it's ground really well and smooth and everything, it's almost like welding. If you do it right, though. But,
Yeah.
and I haven't had any problems at all. That one and the Invictus Blades longsword I have that looks a lot like this Balar longsword. That one also has the press fit on it, and it's amazing how tight it is. Nothing at all. You can throw them around and beat them up all you want, and they stay tight. So it's one way to
Nice.
do it. Just that little added step makes the world of difference when it comes to probably the most common problem you see in these swords.
Yeah. One question I think we should answer real quick is Alex Gargoyle Blades just had mentioned that he wants to potentially get a singular European style sword. And he's like one and done. So my thought is, what should be the sword he should get? Tempest had mentioned potentially a Kriegsmesser. So which, if you're used to single edge swords, that seems like a pretty good pick. And I think Kriegsmessers are pretty fun. They're also, I think, typically a little bit more expensive than some of the long swords. But so I thought it'd be fun for each of us to say what sword we would recommend for Gargoyle to get, and then maybe he'll have to get 4.
I have a
I'm a-
recommendation.
I'm a
How about a
longsword
rapier?
guy. I'm a longsword guy when it comes to Euros. Yeah.
Well,
Got the long curved
to be
blade that he's
fair,
probably used to, and yeah.
yeah. No, you guys go first because I have a lot of thoughts. Someone else go first. I don't want to take up the whole show. That's a great question. I first have to question his sanity first off, and I love Alex. This is meant. He knows I'm not picking on him like that, but you can't just have one and done. That's not how this works.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Ask Luke and I and the swords that are everywhere. Yeah, there's no such thing as one and done. Once the Euro bug gets into you, that's it, man.
Just the
You
variety of geometries and stuff. It's one thing, because they gear
right.
it towards a specific purpose and stuff, and you have all these different choices. Oh, what do I do?
Sword for all occasions.
Gargoyle, they're trying to pull me to the dark side. We have cookies and swords. Yeah, that is an important thing to note. A lot of Japanese swords, and now this isn't always the case. There are different kinds, but there are far fewer Japanese geometries as a whole than European swords. Okay, and generally speaking, they roughly have the same size, especially if katana. Now there's katana, nodachi, stuff like that. But generally, if you're a katana guy, you're a katana guy. That's what you're gonna do. But even the way that they handle different blade geometries, even within some oak shot types, there are multiple types of geometries that are available within, each one, which is a little weird, but it does happen. Like 18s are crazy. Type 18s, it's like a diamond cross section, hollow ground cross section, hollow ground with a fuller, diamond with a fuller. Then you have the weird one, like the Dane one, that has a ricasso that's 5 inches long.
Great example right here. L10.
Yeah.
I don't have any swords from
Century
Delta.
longsword. The new version, right here on either side of the central fuller, this is scooped out. These are like super wide fullers all the way to the end of the blade. It's scooped out, concave.
Is that sharp? Not the ricasso, the actual sword itself.
I put an edge on it recently. That's why it's all the finish.
Can I see the tip?
Very narrow. This thing's like a rapier at the.
It's a Type 20A, my friend.
Yeah.
that's my baby right there.
That's it. This thing's 30 years old, man.
That's a Type 20A. That is an oak shot Type 20A. Because that fuller, it's similar to this one. It's the same geometry as this one, because not all of them had that fuller, or the ricasso. Some did, some didn't. This one is a blade that doesn't have it, but it does have the triple fullers. The ones with the ricasso generally had one central fuller, and then the wider side fullers for the ricasso. If it didn't have a ricasso, the Type 20 had a wide central fuller and smaller secondary. So it really depends.
This is the old version. I think KOA sells the new version, and it's just got two short fullers on the side of the middle one. That's it, the central. They made them real narrow now instead of these wide, scooped out fullers.
Yeah, that was very typical of later period 20As, where they started adding that big ricasso. Okay. Yeah, that's my favorite oak shot typology, my friend.
I'm so iffy on my oak shot typologies because so many of them look so similar. It's like,
so oak shot typology, and we're gonna get back to this question, but the oak shot typology is, I've had this argument with some people. I won't say argument, we'll say debate with people. Oak shot himself, when you read his books, if you read one book, he classifies a sword as one thing, and then read the newer one, and he classifies it as something different. It's meant to be a guideline and not a hard and fast rule. There are a few hard and fast examples that really, represent the typology, but there's a lot of variance. And a lot of the look may not even matter, because not only is it look that matters, but function that matters too. Because the function of what the sword was intended to do may actually put it in a different category than what its general profile would look like.
I got just in case. Here's a basic for our katana guys. There's you a chart.
Right there it is, Type 20A, buddy. Right there, that's my baby. I love that. That's great. But let's get back to Gargoyle's question. So Luke, you go first.
On which sword I think Gargoyle should take?
Yeah.
Oh, so I have a couple of thoughts. To no one's surprise, I'm going to recommend some 18Cs.
Yeah, right. That's why I was up here like 20A.
The 20A is very good. It is very good. And if you were fencing, I think probably 20A would probably be the way to go. If you're doing backyard cutting, 18Cs are just very fun. And the upgraded 18C that I got from Swordier, and just so you guys know, that was one, because whenever I'm sent a sword by a reviewer, part of me is always wondering, like, did they do extra quality control? Did they do extra sharpening? So it's like hard to tell. And so you're really only speaking with the review sample that you got. And so with their upgraded 18C, that was one that I bought with my own money, and I hadn't really mentioned to them that I was reviewing it. So I just wanted to get some like a standard sword, and the price was really good too. It was like $239. Like when Alex showed some cutting with it, and then I went and saw the price, and I was like, what? So I just like bought it right then. And mine performed pretty well for like it's a pretty inexpensive sword. Like I don't know if it's always gonna be like another subscriber of mine bought one, and he said that his came with like micro scratches, which I didn't look that closely on mine when I initially got it, because I just like go out and use them, so I just know that they're gonna get scratched up a little bit
anyway.
And so it's like that's not something that I didn't care too much about the aesthetics. Like I've already talked a little bit about this. Like my priorities when buying a budget sword are like functionality, then aesthetics, and then if it matches up historically with like the oak shot typology or not, like if it's a real historical sword or not. So those are what I most care about with a budget sword. And so functionality wise, I think that one works really well, and I thought it was really fun to use. So that's one that I could recommend, just because like a bang for buck, it seems like you're getting a pretty decent sword, European sword, for $239. It's like that seems pretty good. If you wanted one that is potentially a little bit more refined, I also really like the Alexandria sword from Balor Arms, or Balar Arms, or however it's pronounced. Their newer version. That one is one that I really like, and is they may have raised their prices since I bought mine. Like I bought mine like 4 years ago, or whenever it first came out. As I bought it like immediately. I have one of the ones with the old metal chape on there that, or the metal throat piece that scrapes against the sword that they went and later fixed. I have like the old version of that, like the initial one. But so the new ones don't have that issue. So I would pick one of those. The Balor Arms one is made by LK Chen. LK Chen typically does a pretty good job with their sharpening and their fit and finish and things like that. So I enjoy both of those. So I think one of those would be a good choice for a European sword. Obviously, Tempest, he mentioned a Kriegsmesser. I don't have as much experience with Kriegsmessers. I've only handled, I think, like 3 of them.
Baylor Arms has one now too.
Yes, yeah. I haven't used that one. It looks nice. I have used the new Cold Steel. Cold Steel has 2 Kriegsmessers. One of them is like an old version where the tang is like is not exposed, and it has like a full like wood handle around it, and it's very kind of like chunky and clunky. So I would not recommend that one. But they have a newer one which apparently was pretty close to the original Balor Arms Kriegsmesser, that was like pretty close to the Albion. So they may have just like taken some of the Albion stats. That one's for like $350. That one, from my experience, has been pretty good. So that might be one that worth looking at if you are leaning more towards the Kriegsmessers.
I'm going to mention one thing, and I'm going to let Ward go next, because I have more thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on this topic. But I would personally, if this is your first European sword, stay away from Cold Steel. They are overbuilt and heavy, and I wouldn't want you to get the idea that that's what European swords feel like, because they normally don't. I don't know, Luke, do you agree with me on that one? Every European Cold Steel, even European katana, or not European katana, Cold Steel katana I've gotten from them is overly heavy. Like, they're robust, but it feels like a middle ground between like an APOC weapon and a normal. They're way overbuilt. Not as overbuilt as the survival APOC stuff, but not far off.
Yeah, I have like 7 or 8 Cold Steel stuff, because I remember when I first started collecting like 15 years ago, they were really good with their marketing and branding and stuff like that. So I ended up getting like a bunch of their stuff, and there's probably only 1 or 2 things I would actually buy again. But that's why I'd say the new Cold Steel Kriegsmesser, which I think they took the design from whoever designed the original Balor Arms ones. I think they just took that design. That one seems to be decent. Yeah, and then like if you're other Kriegsmessers, like if you want to get one from somewhere else, you're probably gonna end up paying an additional like $200 or $300. I don't know what your price range is for swords that you want, but I think that's probably the best budget Kriegsmesser that you can get. is their new one because it's not as bulky and built up. But yeah, Cold Steel they have dubious quality control. I think is one of their big issues among other things. Yeah, they happen to be overbuilt and have quality control issues. So
you could get an overbuilt kind of lemon crowbar if you buy from Cold Steel.
But I'm pretty sure I must have gotten like a miracle with their hand and a half sword because my hand and a half sword from Cold Steel works really well.
I'm not saying they don't get stuff that's fairly good. I have the old, from 15 years ago, the old Warrior Series O Katana. Thing will cut through a car if I wanted to. But it doesn't feel like a katana should. It is way overbuilt. But that's also the one sword that if I'm going to cut something that I know would be an abusive target for almost every other sword, that's the one sword I'd grab going, yes, it's not going to break this thing, you know? Like,
Bukotsu.
Yeah.
From Last Samurai Standing with that big old slasher he had out there.
Right.
Oh.
Right now, our chat's full of anime discussion at the moment, and I'm willing to die on the Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust thing. But now, yeah, so basically a Krieg Messer, and I see Tempest Blade Argus said, I got a Cold Steel bastard sword, never going back to them again. Yeah, I had their hand in the half, and let me just say I gave it away at a time when I really wasn't making much money and probably couldn't afford another one, and I still didn't care. You know, like that's the way I felt about it. So now, Lord, what about you? What would you recommend? I noticed you were showing off your German bastard sword there.
Well, yeah, this one here. Yeah. That's the Bilar Arms right here. It's an
Yeah.
LK Chen. It's got an LK Chen blade on it as well.
Oh, nice.
And
is that
this
one that you
thing,
like?
This is my favorite longsword so far.
Oh, nice.
Out of
Yeah,
all
because
of
he
them,
hasn't
this
had
thing
this
cuts
one.
like a dream. It is just amazing. The first
Yeah,
time I cut with
LK
it, I
Chen
was
does
like,
some good
"Whoa."
work.
Yeah, I was like, "What happened? This is so different. What happened?" It's
Well,
great. I love that.
the thing with LK Chen is he's also a practitioner. So that goes a long way into making his swords. I don't personally like a lot of his swords from an aesthetic point. That one would probably be different, but again, that's just me. Like I don't care for the swords he produces aesthetically, but he does a good job because he uses all of them too. So he's not going to want to design something that is not useful because he cuts with all of them. He's not just selling swords.
But it's got a nice flat blade on it. You know, for a flattened diamond, it's a very flat diamond, and it really does. The edge is just beautiful, true edge on it all the way down, and it's really nice. It reminded me when I looked at that edge, I was like, God, there's barely any grind mark on that, and I was like, God, that's it. It was so sharp. It reminded me of my first katana, my Romance of Men Hanya. And they do a fine job of sending you a good out of the box edge at that place. I'm still impressed with how that little katana cuts. But as far as longies go, yeah, you want like an 18C, something like that. I would say that's a good intro into the world of Euros, though. Sure.
2 votes for 18C. 2 votes for 18C.
So, all right.
I see you looking kind of. You look like you want to say something there, man.
I do.
Go ahead.
It's actually 3 votes for 18C.
All right, there you go.
I would vote for that. I'm not an addict to an 18C, but if you want someone to fall in love with a European sword, giving them an 18C and letting them cut tatami, you'll see their eyes light up like crazy because they just have a profile that's meant for cutting. It's a bit fragile, but as a katana user, I think they're already used to that because if you have a traditionally made differentially hardened sword, you know that if you go in with a terrible edge alignment and do some weird stuff and crank your sword up, you may come with a set pretty easily with a differentially hardened sword. So Japanese katana users already have that mindset of I need to make sure my edge alignment is good and I don't do any weird flexing the blade in the target or else, I'm going to bend my sword. Well, an 18C being as flat as it is, does tend to pose a bit more damage because it is such a narrow profile. But if your edge alignment's on and you have a good mindset for that, then that thing will sail through targets like they're not even there, and will make you fall in love with European swords. So I would recommend an 18C as well. I actually would not recommend this sword for most people. Okay, like I wouldn't. It is a cut and thrust. It does some amazing stuff. Now, which 18C? And there's some, obviously the Swordier 18C they have. If you get the one that Luke has, it's more traditional. I like their Generation 1. I just did a full review on it. It's lighter. It's very nimble. I don't like the point, to be honest, but I think their Generation 1, the 1004 series, is super nice, and it's sort of like gives you the profile of an 18C, yet it's a bit more nimble, like some of the other lighter 18s.
Yeah,
I
18Cs
really like
can
them.
be a little top heavy for sure.
Mm-hmm. Their Generation 1 isn't, though, because it's also like half an inch thinner profile-wise.
Yeah.
So it saves some weight, and it's very, very mobile. So that one, honestly, I would recommend the 1004, their first generation 18C, because it's sort of like a diet version, and it does have a lot of mobility to it. If you're going to get into something a bit more expensive, however, if you're willing to move up to the mid-range, the I don't know if I'd recommend the Baylor arms. There's some issues, especially if you get one that has the metal locket still at the top, with their scabbard is a mess. But that one's pretty nice. And it, again, depends on your price range. Getting the Todd Cutler one, depending the Todd Cutler German war sword, as he says, that one would probably be pretty nice. It actually has similar fittings to this, actually. But that one I would only recommend if the British pound falls a little bit, because you don't want to spend close to like $800 for that sword. If it were closer to $650, I'd say that would be a winner. Right now, you're gonna pay, I think, almost $800 or something like that for that sword, and it's not quite worth that. But that one would be pretty nice to get, I think. I saw people talk about Kriegsmessers. I think Kriegsmessers would be very familiar to you, but if you're going to go with a European sword, why in the world would you go with one that feels just like a katana? You want something different. So that's why I wouldn't recommend a Kriegsmesser. And to be honest, a better feeling one would actually be a two-handed falchion. There's not many of them. I think Ronin Katana, oddly enough, they make one, which is pretty good. I know that Kyle from Alientude had... Now, this is a custom piece, but it was one made by Chris Fields of Sterling Armory. That thing will set your heart pumping like the first time you fell in love. Like, that thing is beautiful, but anything Chris Fields makes is that way. So, that I would love to get my hands on that two-handed saber from Chris Fields, but yeah, or two-handed, they call it saber, it would be a falchion. Yeah, two-handed falchion would be nice too, but again, there's not many of them, and I have a hard time recommending Ronin Katana for anything. I don't like a lot of their swords, and they have some dubious construction methods on some of their stuff. So
I've not heard many good things about them, so I've steered away from them, actually.
Probably a wise.
They're definitely in my price range, but I've heard, nah.
There's other companies that make better stuff in your price range than Ronin Katana. Yeah. So it's actually like 3 votes for an 18C. Because I think that is far enough away from a katana that you get a Euro feel, but it has the slicing, cutting capacity of katana. And I think that's part of it. Now, Alex Gargoyle Blade is a very skilled swordsman, so I don't think even giving him something like this, he could eventually get it. But this is a lot less forgiving in the cut than an 18C is. It can cut tatami and things just as well as the katana can, but it takes a bit more work to get it to that point. An 18C is, as Luke said, if you don't use an 18C in your cutting competition, are you even trying? Yeah, there's a reason why the Albion Principe is pretty much the only sword people use in high-level cutting competitions.
There is. You mentioned the cold steels being heavy and overbuilt. Their Italian longsword is kind of light though, but
Yeah, that's one of the only swords I've ever broken on accident.
Yeah.
Was the cold steel Italian longsword. I was cutting through like a 1-inch dowel, and it broke on a dowel.
No kidding.
It's like I didn't even know that's possible.
Was that first gen or the new one?
It was like 8 years ago, so it's probably one of their first gens. But yeah, it's like I think that's the only sword I've broken on accident.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've got that one too. It's light though. It's very light compared to the German, because the Italian comes in at less than 2 pounds, and German
less than 2 pounds?
No, not less than 3. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, because I'm like, less than 2 pounds? Is this a saber?
The only one I got less than 2 pounds is my falchion.
Yeah, falchions. Some of the falchions and some of the like sabers will come in at that weight.
It's like 1.75 pounds or something. But the cold steel German longsword is like 3 pounds 10 ounces or something like that. So
that's how much this one weighs.
Yeah, that's pretty hefty. I think it is. I've got it somewhere on my computer, but it's creeping up into the pretty heavy territory for longy and stuff.
So this one here, this is, speaking of Ronin Katana, who we all love and treasure and obviously recommend. This is the Ronin Katana Anduril, and I had no idea how much this was. This is 5 pounds 7 ounces or something like that.
Oh my!
And you want to know what's funny? That's the sword I've been going to for a while when I'm like, I want to feel like Aragorn. I'm gonna go cut stuff. I've been using that one, and so I think that's partially why I pick up some swords. I'm like, yeah, these feel super light, and it's like because I've been used to swinging around that thing, and then I weighed it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I don't think I can recommend this sword to people. This is not what swords are supposed to feel like.
Was it the Hanshu Boromir's sword that Hanshu made? That one was over 4 pounds.
Yeah,
I was like, it's an arming sword size.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that heavy.
It's not even a big one. I was like, oh, that is way too heavy, man.
Even the 6 foot tall Zweihanders range from 6 to 8 pounds. You know, like that would, and those things are my height. Like, so to have
Boromir's arming sword was not near. Yeah, there was a single hander and stuff, man. No, it shouldn't be 4 pounds.
No, it shouldn't be 4 pounds. That is incredibly heavy for a European sword. But yeah, so if you can't afford a gym but you want swords, you can buy a Ronin Katana and get your sets in there at the same time while you're swinging the thing around. But otherwise, all right. Before we end up, we're going to actually hit our final topic, which is a topic brought to us by the one and only Armored Sweatpants. Why don't I let you take this away and set the stage for us, and we're going to do this final discussion for tonight.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't really make a recommendation on that, because I feel, as a katana guy, I'd probably be very out of my depth. The only Eero sword I do have is this beast here.
I have to send you another European sword, because that is not the best representation of a Euro sword.
It's heavy as hell, okay? But I like the balance on it. It makes it very easily wielded with one hand, even though you don't really feel the weight on it. You know what I mean? So it's nice that way, and I appreciate it. I did my first cuts with it, and
I saw.
Scored a static on the milk jug the first swing, but knocked it off the stand the next one. I've been joking that I think I might have to put the training wheels on this one. But this was something I chatted about with some of my katana friends, is that a lot of these swords, are, the Rockwell hardness scale, on the edges is about 60, and the spines are probably, between 55 and 58. And if all these swords are tempered at the same rock, well, does the steel even matter? Whether it's 1095, T10, L6, this, that, whatever, they're all tempered at the same Rockwell. So I'm wondering, should we be, I know a lot of us are always interested in the hot new steel that comes out. I guess right now is L7, or I mean S7. Okay,
Yeah,
which
S7.
some of us actually think is a myth, that it doesn't actually really exist, because I guess there was a company out not too long ago that was offering S7 swords, and they ended up being like highly tempered T10 or something like that.
It was Shadow
Um,
Dancer.
yeah, Joe Steele was doing testing on them, and it wasn't like authentic S7, So yeah, I don't even really know if that truly exists or not. But yeah,
So
if all these if they're all tempered at the same hardness, what really difference does the steel make? If you have a T10 and you have a 1060, if the edges are tempered to a Rockwell of 60, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Or I know Samurai Bird will probably have an opinion on that.
we'll see if he. I've tested Shadow Dancer and it was S7. So
Okay,
I'm gonna set the ground here a little bit. I'm gonna let other people speak first, but so I think one of the issues with these super steels, shock steels, and like I said, I'm working on a review right now for this SX105V, which is a Japanese tool steel, and frankly, I'm not impressed by it. Like, not compared to anything else. Um, Different steel types do exist, and they do have different properties. Though generally, with our level of metallurgy now I'm not taking into account some tool steels and some shock steels. Let's just say the general stuff that people use: T10, 1095, 1060, 5160, stuff like that. As long as you get your tempering right, in a lot of cases, they're all going to be about the same. There is some level of difference in terms of like durability, how long edges are held, but again, a lot of that comes down to it being so minute now that I don't really know if the cost is so vastly different. I don't know if it would really be worth it, because it's similar to Ward. You and I as computer guys can tell you this one. If you're looking at the latest graphics card versus the one that's right below it, the price difference is like $1,000 price difference. Yet the actual benchmark is about 3% difference in power. But when you're buying top of the line versus the model right below it, there's a huge price gap for not much power gain in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
well, I'd be interested in what Alex would have to say about it, because he works with steel for a living. So
Yep.
I've seen his little shorts from his job, and yeah, he works with steel. So I'd be curious as to what Alex might have to say about it.
Well, even Alex is saying I prefer 1095 and T10 over some of
Right.
these other ones. 1060 is great and all around steel, just can't do crazy tempering on them. So yeah. Now, as for what we talked about earlier, Shadow Dancer did have this issue where when Cloudhammer, which is what that SX105V is, started pushing out these S5s, and then I guess S7 or S7, and then it was S7, and then S5 was supposed to be afterwards, but S5 never made it into Sword Steel. It was a weird debacle there. I think I have the numbers right, but it was weird because then Shadow Dancer started saying they were doing S7 when they weren't. It was an outright lie, because they felt it was the only way to be competitive because people wanted this and they couldn't get it.
Right.
But the thing that I'm really stuck with is, they had that one sword that Matthew Jensen broke, which was S7. I think Shadowversity got an S7 that they smashed against Bluestone and stuff like that, and it was fine, relatively. But there doesn't seem to be a consistency because Matthew Jensen also got S5, Joe Steele got S5s afterwards, and they broke way easier.
Well, the
And they
harder it's tempered, the more brittle the steel is.
yeah. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, and how you're yes, exactly, and that does line into the the metallurgical properties of the steel, and what
Right.
it can withstand. But I really don't think sword steels are going to get to a that point where it really makes that huge of a difference. In general, there might be a bit more, especially with tool steels that are meant to be like in jackhammers. Sure, they might have great durability, but they're probably not going to hold an edge because that's not what they're designed for. You can
Right.
you could put an edge on anything. You can put an edge on a paper clip if you wanted to, but it doesn't mean it's going to hold it after a cut.
Oh yeah, totally.
My goodness, look at your standard razor that you use to shave your face. They're super, but after one shave, they're dull
Make
again.
my face. Who does that?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Some weird people do that. I don't know what that's about. And thankfully, all the people here are bearded, so therefore I'm very happy about that. I mean, I do it for my head, so but I don't need hair up there. But
Hey,
Can I
there's
add
a
my
reason I'm
2 cents
wearing a
onto the
wig hat.
steel convo?
yeah, go for it.
Okay. So one of my favorite videos to watch was Matthew Jensen trying to break a sword that Nick sent him. I'm trying to remember Nick's last
Yes,
name.
Miller.
That was yes. And after I saw that, I immediately contacted Nick. And I because Nick did not say what type of steel he was using or how he treated it or whatever, but whatever he did was magical. Like in D&D terms, he made like a +2 longsword. And so I immediately contacted him and was like, "Hey, could you make me what you made Matthew Jensen and just like slightly bigger?" He's like, "Yeah, let's run it." And I was like, "Sweet." So that's I happen to have a pretty indestructible sword, I assume. I haven't gone out and tried to smash it because I like it so much, but yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I also contacted Nick Miller, and he's working on one for me too. But that's beside the point. But I can tell you, I can almost guarantee he's not using S7. That's a Japanese shock steel.
Yeah, probably not.
He's probably using something he can get here, 5160 or something like that. And however he's tempering it is what's really making
Right.
Right.
that
Well,
strength.
the temper matters
It does.
greatly, really. You can get like a 1095, but if it isn't tempered right, that sword's going to suck.
I think that goes back to the point that you were saying, Armored, is like, do the super steels matter as much? And to be honest, I don't know if they do. I think it's how it's tempered, how it's sharpened, how it's profiled.
Right.
Because I've seen some swords break where it's because it was like overground in certain spots and it made a weak point, or So I think there's a lot of factors that are just as important as to the steel used.
So
I've seen a lot
since you
of videos
mentioned
lately where people are, singing the praises of 1060.
yeah. Well, and Alex said that 1060 was really good, Gargoyle's Blade. And since you were saying about what he was saying, he says, Gargoyle's Blade says, I don't believe that there's such a thing as super steel. All steels break. When you get into it, steels that aren't used in swords as much, they're going to be problematic. 1060, 1095, and T10 are tried and true steel. And I would add to that 5160 is also a tried and true sword steel, especially in the Euro market. So
Well, I have two 5160s.
is that the Nick Miller?
Oh, wait,
Yes,
no, I'm sorry. I'm
definitely.
sorry. I got my numbers mixed up. 1566. Sorry.
1566. So
Yeah.
that's the Nick Miller one right there.
Yeah.
And of course it'd be a Danish.
Of course.
And here that's an
So
Oakshot Type 18E for those who don't know, but it Danish.
Yeah, I'm just stuck on the 18s.
Yeah, oddly enough, I'm odd because the 20s were contemporary of 18s. They were out at the same time. It's kind of like Ford or Chevy discussion, right? I'm a Type 20, Type 20A dude, not an 18 guy. But yeah, no,
Not even on my list. I've got an old one.
yeah. But yeah, I do see what Gargo is saying. These guys are experimenting with these steels that weren't designed for swords. They were designed for tools, hard impact tools. And in theory, because of that, you think, yeah, they would make sense when you're hitting them against hard stuff. Swords weren't meant to do that, though. They were meant to cut. And if you're not using a sword that was meant to cut, sure, would I like to get an S7 mace? Absolutely, I would. Like that would be more in line with what the steel was designed for, rather than what it is now. And
Right.
like I said, I'm not overly impressed. The SX105V, which is a Japanese tool steel, technically performed worse than my 5160 Valiant Armory, or even the 65 MN Swordier, or the 60 SI2 MN Swordier. All performed better than the SX105V by leaps and bounds. Like, all of them. And all of them took the same amount of damage, same amount of micro scratches. None of them were any worse for wear, like, to use. So why the SX105V did nothing for me other than I could say I had SX105V, at least for normal sword use. Now, if I had to, pound in a nail with it, maybe I'll take the SX105V and do that. But that's just sort of how I look at it. Oh yeah, and Gargoyle even says it's like titanium. It's not good at all for knives and swords. It won't keep an edge at all, but it's harder than steel. But it's not going to keep an edge. You can sharpen titanium to have a razor edge, but it's not going to keep it. So, that's why you don't see titanium swords. I think Shadowversity did this years ago when he was talking about sword steels and what the next evolution of swords is, and they were thinking about different steels, and in the end he pretty much came to the point steel is just better. Just period. Like, yeah, there are other metals out there that are harder or whatever, but it doesn't have the combination of hardness and ductility that steel has. Steel just has that. And it makes good swords.
I have T10s. I have 1566s, but my favorite sword is actually a folded steel clay tempered 1095.
Mm-hmm. But now,
as far as cutting,
well, and differentially hardened can get if it's done in a specific way, the differential hardening creates a very hard Rockwell edge, while supposedly maintaining a much softer spine. We're talking 60 hardness on the edge and like 50, 45, 50 on the spine. That creates a lot of flex and shock absorption in the back of the spine to aid the sword. So you can get that super hard edge and not having cracked. I wouldn't want a European sword with 60 Rockwell hardness. Thing would snap, because we're monosteel. That mean it would be 60 hard, or HRC all the way around. You can't differentiate
for a katana is actually pretty common from what I understand.
And David in chat says, speaking of scratches, I'm pretty sure those blocks Luke was using to balance swords on were scratch removing pads.
I'm gonna have to try it for that because I have like 12 of them. I have no idea what they do. I actually should try them on the wire wrap from some of the swords from the Romance of Men, because those ones are like a little abrasive. I still haven't done that. I instead decided to just buy gloves, but I should try it and see if it removes scratches, if it makes the wire wrap softer. But I can tell you can balance swords on them.
So Samurai Bird, as you said, Armored, he goes, Jensen's S7 turned out to be 1070 batch, but mine was actually S7. They sent me 3 more, and the one I had tested was S7. Cloudhammer had a mixed batch of S5 and S7, but they caught it and fixed it. That's probably where there's some that perform better than others. And he says, they do matter. Trust me. I cut a lot of bamboo, and the stronger the sword, the better.
Okay,
so wait, hold on. Can we get some follow up on that? So, is it his opinion that S7 actually is stronger and is better as long as you actually can get an S7?
Yeah. sure that's what he's saying, but I'll wait for him to confirm that in chat. I think he is saying that's shock steel specifically does help for harder targets. I'd actually be really curious to see if he has to sharpen his sword more, or if he just flat it matters in his.
Okay. I guess follow-up question: is there any maker consistently making S7 swords with good quality control?
S5 that's the kicker. Cloudhammer's the only one I know that makes S7 swords. There might be a few others, but I think it's just Cloudhammer.
Bird is the word.
That's a good one.
S5 is even stronger. Bird is the word, yeah. I've not seen anyone test any S5.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
That song's going to be stuck in my head all night now.
Yeah.
Bird is the word.
Bird is the word.
There it goes.
Bird is, yeah.
Wait, Samurai Bird, tell us, where do we get the S5 sword, Samurai Bird?
Yeah, where do we get S5 swords? I think it's only Cloudhammer. I think they're the only ones who sell any kind of the S steels. I don't think anyone else does. And I wonder if part of that is just because they have access to it in China. Cloudhammer quality control would be better than Shadow Dancer S7. Well, fair. Shadow Dancer isn't even doing Samurai Bird. They're not even doing any of the shock steels. After the whole, we're selling shock steels, and then they got caught. Now I don't think they're even doing that. I don't think. But yeah, I don't know if anyone other than Cloudhammer is doing it. And in terms of longswords, they have one S7 longsword. And I'm going to put S7 or longsword in quotation marks because it doesn't look good. It doesn't fit any real oakshot typology. There was no historicity put behind it. It's just longsword looking rather than actually mattering. So yeah, I don't. Cloudhammer's the only one with S5. Shadow Dancer has Taiwan S7. Okay, thank you for the correction. So there's really only one company if you want to get S5, and that's Cloudhammer. And I don't think they do it in euros. You can only get them in katana. They're not even doing euros in that. But now, are they differentially hardening the S7, or is that a mono steel Samurai Bird? Cloudhammer has an S5 longsword at RVA. David, is that the one with the green handle that really doesn't look that great? Like the door handle pummel and all that nonsense?
Door handle.
Yeah, it looks like a door handle. A doorknob, yeah. I've not been very fond. Actually, the SX105V that I just reviewed was probably the only longsword from Cloudhammer that actually looked somewhat like a historical European sword, not just sword-like.
Doorknob.
No, it's
good for smacking someone on the head with it. But
thoroughly hardened, usually air quenched. Okay, so they're not differentially hardening the S7, so or S5. Yeah, it doesn't look great. That's probably the one I'm thinking. Yeah, it doesn't look like any normal longsword that we're used to. I mean, vacuum quench. Sorry. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Understood. Yeah, I don't know. In the Euro market, it's more important to have that flexibility. Having the right level of flexibility, the right level of distal tapering, and the right tempering. To have that spring temper is more important. But I guess it's different. S5 and S7 can only be done mono. Okay, Gargoyle Blade corrected me on that one. That can only be done mono. Sometimes the company needs to stick to what they do best rather than trying to branch out. Yeah, the Watcher said that. And again, that's what a lot of us were saying even earlier. Samurai Bird being the exception. Love you, Samurai Bird. You're great. But like Gargoyle's Blade, I'd rather have a 1060, 1095, T10, something that has been tested as a sword steel for decades now than trying to branch out into one of these shock steels. Yeah, I think they can differentially harden SX 105V. I don't know why you'd want to, but it is what it is. All right. Any other comments on the sword steels from you? Anyone here? Ward, do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
I was just thanking Gargoyle and Samurai Bird for their info because I feel smarter now.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, I'm
something,
sure
man.
both
That's
are
awesome.
knowledgeable on the subject. Me, I was always, it's the same hardness, so, it should be able to hold the edge the same and sail through the target the same, But
Well,
yeah, if there's subtle differences, yeah, sword swingers really need to know about it.
Samurai Bird says, "Don't get me wrong, I'm still a big fan of 1095, especially after the L6 debacle."
I adore 1095.
What happened to L6?
Yeah, I'm curious about what happened to L6. Maybe Samurai Bird can elaborate for what's this L6 debacle thing. Is that Banonite? Like, because I know there was one member or one smith who made L6 Banite or something like that. Now his blades are like 10 grand, per. They're not cheap. But I heard other people were trying to do L6, and because they didn't have the temper right, it didn't work out as well. Yeah, Gargoyle Blade. So I've been working with steel now for almost 30 years. So, dragging. Oh, chat. You guys are great. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm curious about the L6 thing. That'll be fascinating to see. But, yeah, yeah, I don't know. I just see, again, with the hardness, I mean, you could harden almost any steel to 60 Rockwell hardness. I'm pretty sure you could do that. Whether or not it maintains it is, the difference in the steel type on how well it maintains. Samurai Bird said, I had a Murasame L6 tested, and it was actually 1095, which, given what I know, there is no L6 in China being used for swords. Isn't L6 an American steel anyway? Like, 5160 is like American steel. The equivalent would be like 65 MN or 60 SI2 MN in China. True L6 would be amazing, but it's so expensive, so that's why. See, again, I don't think it's the L6 that matters as much as the tempering, because, and I cannot remember the guy's name. Howard Clark, is that it? Is it Howard Clark who does the L6 Banite? Maybe that's who I'm thinking. Again, his swords are like 10 grand a pop to get, So, yeah, if it's Howard Clark, other people have gotten their hands on L6, but because they don't temper it the same way he does, it's not much different than 1095 or whatever. It's not that special. It's how well they temper it and how they do that. And he guards that tempering secret. I would have to look it up. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, cool. It's Howard Clark. Yay, confirmation. And I'm not even a katana guy, but I know Howard Clark. Cool. All right, gentlemen, I think that's where we're going to end it here for the night. Does anyone have any other final things they'd like to bring up before we wrap up this Swordtuber Live? No? Yeah? Anything? Anything at all?
Thanks for having me.
Well, I was going to get to that. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much, Nerdy Metal Dude and Armored Sweatpants, for coming on the first time. Obviously, Luke, for being here again. Why don't you guys, to end this off, I really want people to be able to look up your channels and stuff. So if you're working on anything or you have anything that you'd like people to check out, we'll go around and everyone can say something. Let's start with Luke. Luke, you get to go first. Tell us about what you're working on and doing at your channel.
Okay, thank you. My channel is Emblem Arms, and I do some backyard cutting. That's what I do in a lot of my shorts. Mostly European swords, although I have ventured into a katana or two, and I actually have a custom katana from Swordus that should be arriving soon, so that should be fun. The goal is to get one katana to represent each season. I think that'll just be fun, like a fun display piece. So, so that's coming. I occasionally will do like D&D skits that I just think are funny, and maybe some of you guys will think are funny. They typically are sword related. Well, so I have one coming out where it's going to be each D&D class teaches you how they would use a sword. So that's something that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully is fun for you guys. And, a few sword reviews. I'm trying to get through all the Romance of Men Euro line swords because that's, I don't know, just for funsies. So that's more or less what I'm doing.
Nice. Yeah. No, definitely check out Emblem Arms. He does probably more daily uploads than I ever go near doing. Guy always has stuff for me to watch, which is great because I like all of his stuff. We joked about
of your energy, Luke.
Yeah. He's doing videos and like backflips. I'm sitting there going, I don't even want to get out of bed. Okay.
Exactly.
I don't even want to get out of bed. Forget this nonsense. My only claim to fame is going out in snowstorms and cutting it. So I'll stick with that one.
Keep that too.
Yeah. I often joke because I did it during the one big snowstorm, and then the next thing I look at, there's a bunch of other people doing it. I'm like, you guys all copied me. I teased Andy from Galactic Source because he went out and did it after too. I'm like, you were in my live, you saw me out there, then you went out. I see what you're doing. No, he's great. But yeah, no, Emblem stuff, fantastic. Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I'm surprised you like the Vanguard so much.
I was also surprised because I thought it looked the worst. I was very negative feeling towards it, and then I got it, and I was like, oh wow, this is. I so far I like it the most out of the Romance of Men stuff.
It's funny because honestly, everyone is just loving the Dragon Whisper. This is 100% me. I can't get behind it because that blade type was never in history. They got that full that goes all the way to the end, which is very typical of fantasy media. But the only sword that even had that was like the Type 10 and Type 11, which were single-handed swords from, they weren't long swords. And then it has a diamond cross section at the top, and I'm just like, if you like backyard cutters, that's fine. It's just I like historical.
Yeah, it works as a sword. Yeah, it works as a sword, and it's cheap. So if you're getting in, and it feels pretty good. It's funny because my brother who is not into swords at all, I showed him like 20 different swords, and that was the one. He picked it up, and he's like, "Yes, this one feels the best. This is the hero sword. I like this one." And he went straight for the Dragon Whisper. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So it certainly has like an allure to it. It looks good. It feels good. It's not historical, but again, for me, for budget swords, like that is like the last thing on my list to care about.
I see David says Dragon Whisper is so beautiful. And if you like fantasy, like I have some swords that need to have some review here anyway as I try to pull it out here. Like from The Witcher. Here's the Witcher silver sword, even though it's not silver, obviously, but it's one of the Witcher silver swords from Swordier. And I'm specifically doing these ones because Witcher 4 is coming out, and I love The Witcher 4, so don't get me wrong on that one. And I like them because while they're fantasy, they're close enough to reality that they're kind of like fantasy but historically plausible. And that's why I kind of like them so much. But generally, I stay away from fantasy swords. I think those are the only fantasy swords I have besides like Lord of the Rings collectibles because I love Lord of the Rings, and that's fine. And that's just my own personal bit. If you don't care about that, you can have fun with your Dragon Whisper. It looks like a good sword, generally. But that's me. Cool. No, I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, check out Emblem Arms and all his does. So, Ward, why don't you go next?
Oh, well, I do have something coming out because if you saw any of my shorts, I put out a series of shorts from the Art Institute of Chicago.
Yeah.
Their Arms and Arbor exhibit there. And
those are amazing, by the way.
Pardon me?
I say those are amazing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm taking those little shorts though because I've got a lot of wide shots too, and I'm gonna go full 4K, and that stuff will be coming out within the next week or so, and it'll have a long version 4K, and I'll try to put some sort of soundtrack to it, but if you don't want to listen to the heavy metal stuff or whatever, just mute it, and find what you like and watch, because some of that stuff is amazing. And I've fallen in love with the Swiss saber in one of those exhibits, and it's just amazing and gorgeous. And if I could ever find a more understated version of that sword, like a soldier's version of that Swiss saber, that would be, oh man, that's it haunts me at night. I'll dream of it and stuff like that. I'm in love with that sword.
It's funny. I talk about my lady. She's always like, you ever see those memes of the girl in bed next to the guy going, I bet you he's dreaming of other women, and we're sitting over here going, when can I get that new sword? I joke with her all the time. She'd be like walking in, and I have to quickly shut all my windows on my computer. What are you doing? Porn. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Open your tabs. Look at all these swords. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, swords all over the place. She's always asking me like, yeah, hey, are you chatting with like another girl? No, I'm looking at swords. What do you think I'm doing? My goodness, I don't got time for ladies. I got swords to buy. I got swords to buy. Oh, awesome. All right, Armored. Why don't you tell us what you're doing?
Well, actually, not a whole lot. I haven't been posting a lot. My backyard with the rain and the snow and the melt is kind of a big old mud pit right now. So, yeah, don't want to be slipping, sliding out there with a 27.5-inch long razor blade. So, my band's currently looking for a drummer right now. So anybody in the Milwaukee area who plays drums and would like a shot at the stage, I'm here. But yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for the mud to harden and I can get out there and do some cutting. In the corner of this room here, I have a couple of big old garbage bags full of targets that I'm just waiting.
Oh, good. You do the same thing. Oh, good.
Yep,
I'm not the only one. All right, good.
Right. I have
a whole corner of the room over there is full of targets.
My sword stand up there, and right next to it, I have like 2 big garbage bags filled with the evil plastic foe that must be dispatched when the weather gets better. So,
join my brothers in the war. I'm with you on that one.
Right.
Well, in the meantime, is there any particular past video or something that you've done recently, or something that you would like to direct people towards seeing if they haven't seen it?
Well, I've been doing a lot of shorts lately. It's really been helping my views, but before that, I used to do a lot of like 3 to 5 minute videos where me and my daughter would go out and cut. I did a video called The Wizardly Way where I actually zap a milk jug with wizard power. You'll have to check that out and see it. I'll let you use your imagination on that one. But yeah, just a lot of long form videos that maybe people didn't catch. I got a lot of subs after I started doing shorts, and I got a lot of gig footage up there, music, and a lot of longer videos where me and my daughter are taking shots. She is a very talented swordsman, by the way. She doesn't really do her own channel, but she used to do cameos on mine. We used to do sword videos together, and yeah,
That's awesome.
There's some cool, unusual stuff up there for people to see. So
I long for the
Can I
day
make a
for when-
recommendation for people on Armored
Yeah.
Sweatpants' channel? It was funny because people in the comments were talking about pipes and like smoking pipes. And it's funny because before we went live on the live stream, we were also talking about pipes. And so, yeah, Armored Sweatpants actually has a few videos where he like goes through in detail and shows you some of the different like smoking pipes that he has. And I thought those, as someone who doesn't smoke, I found them very interesting and fun. So, Yeah, he has a bunch of really cool ones. So, yeah. So, David, I know it was so funny that you brought that up, and I was like, oh my gosh, we were just talking about that without each other knowing. So, I thought that was very funny. And there's some good videos on Armored Sweatpants' channel for that. So, yes,
That's neat.
Well, it's a sword channel you guys are going after, so I figured nobody really wanted to talk about pipes. So,
it's one of those. If you like swords, you probably like fantasy stuff too, and therefore wizard pipes are sword adjacent. So,
oh yeah, I
that
have quite a
works.
collection of old church warden pipes, long stems.
Yes. Yeah. I was trying to find mine too because we all had one, and I'm like, if I could only get it, then Luke would be the only one out, but it's buried somewhere in my closet. I can see him as soon as the live stream's over. He's gonna be like, okay, I gotta go out and get a pipe because this isn't right,
one right now.
You're ordering one right now. They added it to cart along with your next 18C. Yes, nice, cool. So yeah, that's about it. I have stuff
Can I
coming
add
up,
one
but
more thing?
yeah, go
One
for
more.
it.
Yeah. Also, I haven't. I mean, if anybody has any cool tips for movies and TV shows and stuff that may be a little more obscure that I may have missed, especially because I hadn't even ever had a katana except for maybe I had one way back in the day. It was one of those 440 Mall Ninja store hang on the wall
Sword-like
thing.
object.
Yeah, one of those. And I since I've gotten into cutting with katana, I am super interested in all those movies, and I know there are a lot of cool Asian, war movies and stuff like that. So, if you've got any ideas for cool movies to watch related to swords, and I'm also into horror, sci-fi, fantasy, all that good stuff. Any cool ideas of strange and oddball movies? Throw them in my comments when I throw a short out there or
Yep.
something, and that'd be
Help the
greatly appreciated.
algorithm out and leave him movie recommendations as comments. YouTube loves the engagement, comments, all that stuff. So yeah, leave that stuff for all these guys. Cool, awesome. I have a few reviews coming up, but I recorded footage for like 4 different swords. The next 4 reviews will be on a Cloudhammer SX105V, the Valiant Armory Valor, the Valiant Armory Practical, and it's not a review because I'm not going to do a review, but it's going to be more like a first impression of this sword. I refuse to do reviews of this sword where I give it a score because I helped design the blade, and I feel it's a conflict of interest for me to score something that I had a small hand in doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to talk about it like I normally would, and you see me use it. But what I'm actually going to do is anytime that I review a sword like this that Swordier has done that uses the blade I helped them with, if you have done a review of the sword yourself, let me know. Like, leave a comment saying I did a review on my channel, and I will include a link to it in the description as well as a pinned comment. Luke, I'm already going to get you. Don't worry about it. It's already there. Because I want unbiased opinion. I'd like to say I had unbiased because even I have some complaints or some criticisms on it. But because I helped design it, I felt it would be a conflict of interest to, oh yeah, it scores a this or whatever. Even though there's no monetary reason. If you buy it, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't get money for it or anything like that. I just wanted to help Swordier make a sword that I knew I would want. And, was more historically accurate to that type and had an aesthetic that I like. So I do take pleasure in seeing other people cut with it. I think I've watched Luke's review probably a dozen times, no lie, just because I like seeing someone else use the sword that I helped design. So as of right now, there are 3 models from Swordier that have this blade, which is the WMZ 1013, which is this model, the 1017 and 1019, I think it is. They all use the blade I helped design. So if you review any of those, please let me know, and I will include it in my review for people to go look at. So those are the next things coming up for me whenever I get around to doing it.
Can you say those ones again real quick? Because I'm gonna look those up right now. You said the 1017, the 1019?
1019 is their floral night, and the other one is the premium version of this with the pattern welded steel and different leather. So I think it's 1017 and 1019. I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to look it up here because I can't touch my computer at the moment.
Yeah, the 1017, that one is also 20A.
That one's, yep.
That looks pretty, yeah, with like the floral theme. Yeah, that one looks nice.
Yeah, that one is, yep, that uses my blade. And then the 1019.
Swordtubers 1019.
28. You know
The
what? I did get that typology right. Hey, score. I got that typology right. I did classify it as a 28 in my description for the video. I was testing the edge on that thing. Okay.
So Swordtubers currently has 5 20A swords. And 3 of them.
Floral Knight.
Yeah, 3 of them use my blade design.
Add to cart.
yeah. That one's quite, because it actually has a more medieval type structure. Yeah, I like the Floral Knight too. But it uses the same blade that you're already used to, Luke. So you saw how that blade handled on the 1013. So the only ones that don't are, I think, the 1010, which is this one. SWZ 1010. This uses a blade before my design came in. And the SWM 1038, which I reviewed, which was their first 20A. And that was the one that when I looked at it, I'm like, so I have some thoughts, and it led me on the work with Swordtubers to design the 20A sword blade. Because the one they released, I was like, it looks okay, but I have thoughts. And Alex was nice enough to let me help design something. So 3 of the 5 20A swords bear the blade that I helped them with. So if anyone does any of those reviews, please let me know. Because I will also be doing a impression, not a review, because I'm not going to score my own blade stuff. But I will include, and that's in perpetuity. I don't care if it's 5 years later. If I'm still alive doing YouTube, sending me that comment, I will add it to a running list of reviews of those swords. Just because. So that way, if you watch my video, I will encourage everyone to go watch every other review from 100% objective people. So, yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it anyway. So, Giu, we're just getting ready to end. He showed up a little late. But yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you so much again for coming. You guys are all amazing. I'm so happy I get to meet you guys because I love the sword community. Everyone here is so great. So if you are a person who watches watches YouTube and likes swords, and maybe you're on the fence about joining the Swordtuber community, I honestly can't think of a nicer group of people who would be happy to add another person to our roster of sword YouTubers. Plus, I need more people to watch, so helps me out too. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everyone in chat. You guys are all fantastic.
Thanks, everybody.
I will see you.
Buy some swords. Listen to a lot of metal.
Yeah, that's the name of this episode, Swords of Metal. That's the name of the title for this, Swords of Metal, because we got metal bands here. You guys are great. Thank you so much, everyone. Be sure to subscribe to everyone